Normally, we save this for the end of the show. Normally, I like to ask the question to Tyler, hey, where are you? Where's your happiness level? Where's your optimism level? Are you smiling? Can we turn the frown upside down? Where are those eyebrows in relation to your face? I like to ask about NA Optimism to my dear friend and colleague, Fionn on Fire. I do it normally at the end of the show. I'm going to change things up here because so much happened for NA today in World's Action that we got to get to it right away, Tyler. After the matchups with TL and FlyQuest, where are you right now? How happy are you? How optimistic are you for North America?
So yesterday I was famously at a 2. My emote went from me, screaming and happy to a sad face. So after the Team Liquid versus Suning match, I was at a -7. I was angry, Arda. I was not happy. I was ready to burn down the LCS house and the bearings and roots that are connected to that house. I wanted to burn it all. I wanted to burn the entire system down. And I still kind of do. And I think there's a discussion for another day, a day where NA, that could be tomorrow if NA goes 0-3 in their 3 group stage matches and kind of, for all intents and purposes, knocked North America out of Worlds before week 2, which is usually where NA fails, before even week 2 begins. But no, I can't go to the negatives just yet. We haven't hit the emergency button yet where I'm going to the negatives. But, FlyQuest did beat Unicorns of Love. FlyQuest beat Unicorns of Love. It was a very exciting, but very sloppy match. So for today's charts, I can officially say that my optimism level, 10 being one NA team makes it out of the group stage. One team, a 10, is a quarterfinal appearance because that is what I thought was the peak of NA with these 3 teams coming into it. My current optimism level is a 1.
So lower than yesterday.
Lower than yesterday.
The chart looks so depressing, Tyler.
Oh, man.
It looks so sad. A 1. Like you are so close to that x-axis right there, or the y-axis. You're so close to that axis, man. Look at that. You're about to go. You could go in the negatives. You could.
Oh, there's 3 NA games tomorrow. There's 3 NA games. There's a high possibility. Team Liquid's playing G2. TSM has to play LGD, and FlyQuest has to play Dragon X. There's a very good chance we are going to the negatives tomorrow. And I know some people are being like, why isn't it higher, right? NA got its first win, and we'll talk about that more in detail in a little bit. But why isn't it a bit higher? Why am I not a 3 at least, or a 4? FlyQuest 1. Power of Evil was outstanding. Stellar day from him. Great team fighting. They were proactive, which neither of the other NA teams have been. But the match after that with Top Esports and Dragon X, it's really hard for me to say that FlyQuest in its current form, with Solo's lane issues, we could say, he's having a lot of issues in the laning phase. His team fighting has been quite good, but his laning phase has been a lot left to be desired. I just don't see a way for FlyQuest to beat DRX if DRX is playing at their best form. Currently in this meta, Piosic on his comfortable champions. In Power of Evil, he was able to smash around No Man's, but he's going against my man tomorrow, Chovy, the GOAT. Not the GOAT, that's Faker.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. The Lord of the Church of Chovy is coming to put down and exercise the North America once and for all tomorrow, and just to destroy all the hopes and beliefs I have left. But I'm at a 1. It's tough for me to say. I'm very pessimistic. I would be honestly shocked if any of these NA teams made it out of the group stage. It's a very difficult time. There are 3 very difficult matches tomorrow. TSM, I think TSM still might be the best chance we have. If they beat LGD, that group opens up wide open, but TSM hasn't been proactive enough. And FlyQuest, they look proactive, but their laning phase doesn't look good enough to get out of the laning phase versus Dragon X. It's overall bad times. It's bad times, Arda.
We're going to get into all of that a little bit later. And as you mentioned, all three NA teams are in action tomorrow. TL taking on G2, TSM against LGD, and FlyQuest against DRX. Before we move off this topic, though, I would love to ask this question because you've been covering League of Legends for a very long time. You've seen Worlds time and time again, and you've seen NA and their performances at Worlds more specifically year over year. So can you put into context this NA sentiment as compared to previous years? How dire and how low is this for you and what you see from NA as compared to previous years?
I see a lot of people saying like this is no worse than last year, 2019, in Europe when none of our NA teams made it out of group stages, and I laugh at that. That is nonsense. That is trash. There's no truth in that at all. As someone who was on the ground last year in Europe, Team Liquid beat Damwon Gaming in their first game, which is by far better than anything any NA team so far has come close to at this World Championship. Cloud9 was very competitive in the early game versus G2, who was a heavy favorite to go far in the tournament. They played Griffin extremely close and should have beaten Griffin, but kind of slipped up in the late game with some late game decision making. And in Clutch Gaming, they went 0-6 in one of the toughest groups of all time, but they played balls to the wall. They played with no fear at all. And even though they had some missteps, Hooney teleporting when he probably shouldn't have, DeMonte playing too forward and too aggressive when he shouldn't have, they still played with this love of the game and this fearlessness that we see from teams like PSG and Machi today, versus JD Gaming and G2 Esports, where they're outgunned and they're outmatched, but they went down swinging, and that was very similar to Clutch Gaming last year, where if you look at my comments about Clutch Gaming last year, I was very glowing of them. Even though they went 0-6, like players like Vulcan, they were so proactive on the map, and they never backed down to the challenge, that I was just very appreciative of how they played the game, where this year, Team Liquids have played 2 games so far, and they've done absolutely nothing. They've literally just kind of sat there and died both games, where you could probably put some intermediate AI bots in the position of Team Liquid, and it probably wouldn't have looked that much differently. Outside of the Jensen steal today, which we'll talk about, but outside of that, they've literally done nothing in their 2 main event games. And FlyQuest got a win, sloppy, but it's something. And then TSM, Fnatic game was decent, but nothing special. And then the Gen G game, they was pure outclass. So this is the worst I felt about North America, probably since they went 0-10 in the second week of groups in 2015. And even then, I think I felt better about North America. I felt better about its future. Right now, we have Tactical and Speak as really the only 2 like up and coming stars. Maybe Broken Blade as well, if you want to consider him a young star. But it doesn't feel like there's a new generation coming in these 3 teams, really. There's a lot of veterans, a lot of older players on these North American rosters. So even if they fail, even if they fall down, even if they get knocked out in the group stages, I don't feel like this valuable experience for pretty much anyone aside from Broken Blade, Tactical, and Speaka, which is making it why I'm so pessimistic and down over the entire situation, where I'm at a 1. Hopefully tomorrow, if we go 3-0 tomorrow, we might be going back to a 10. That's very unlikely, very unlikely. But if they somehow upset all 3 games, we are going back to a 10. But logically, like in the most outcomes, we're most likely going 1 or 2 or 3 tomorrow. And if we go in 3, we're making a new chart, because there's gonna be a negative, and I'm going right down to the molten core.